Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod Sunday night show, The Shit Show, with Lila and Pat. I somehow never get that out in one fell swoop. It doesn't roll off. I feel a little Kamala-esque. Is that a word?
I mean, the shit show. Yeah, you should. I should do the introductions for the shit show.
Yeah.
We should make me the shit guy. I'll be the shit guy.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you doing? I worked yesterday for side jobs, so that's me time, kind of.
Okay.
Helped my folks take some sofas to the dumps today. That
nice.
Hit me randomly.
Good son.
I have a story. Should I share it? I don't know.
Share a story.
You always make fun of me listening to NPR.
I definitely do.
I'm listening to NPR today, and it's one of those open mic things where they have somebody in front of an audience telling this heartwarming story.
Right.
And this guy lost all of his money to the what was the loan crisis?
Bernie Madoff. No.
Bernie Madoff ripped off his family, and he's like, and I'm Jewish, and my wife, she had to suffer through all my saving, losing all my money, and blah blah blah. Anyway, heartwarming story at the end of it all. He loves his wife and she doesn't care that he's broke, that kind of thing, blah, 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 blah. And they say, and that was Pete, who co-wrote some of the Saw franchise.
Oh God, Josh is Pete, our Pete.
And
yeah, that's so funny.
It's Josh's writing partner randomly was on NPR giving a little speech. So
he's very funny. He's very funny. Yes, I remember, God, when that happened, he lost like all of his inheritance and savings and everything. And he had been saving up for a house, and his brothers, he has 3 brothers, had all spent all their money on buying stuff and vacations and cars and house or whatever. And that was pretty devastating. But I think Jen, who isn't Jewish, teased him and said, because, he is very frugal, that they would just continue living, it's like a sort of Zen thing, like just pretend it's there and we're still not touching it. But that was pretty devastating. He has another good one about having a major accident in a university play production he did, 30 some odd years ago. It's The Moth, right? Where they do, I think we're like storytelling at The Moth, which is part of NPR. Anyway, that's very funny. Yeah. It is a small world. Hello, everybody. How are you? It's so good to see everybody. And haha, thank you, Zainab. It does kind of like
before we move on,
Kamala-esque. Yeah.
How was your week?
Oh, look at you asking questions like a social person.
Checking the box.
They checking the box. It's good. It's hot here. It's like 100 degrees in LA. Is it hotter where you are? I think it has.
It's probably about that, but yeah, it's been a rough, like the last 2 months have been pretty gnarly over here.
It's bad. And the power grids, I don't even want to say it out loud. I'm knocking on wood, but it's all holding up for us. But I know there's been a lot of issues around the city. Yeah. And COVID is rampant. I know we're not really touching on that today. We're really going to do a deep dive into Kamala's cabinet, her VP choices, all that kind of stuff, because she's making her big announcement in 2 nights at her big rally in Philadelphia.
Yeah. But I do want to add that if you're worried about COVID, don't be, because the CDC now is using green. Green is now the new map color for the dangerous parts where COVID is.
It's very common.
Green.
Very
green, literally green. The map is green.
It's just ridiculous. And I'm looking of all of these things. So many days reflect the sun, says so many days over 100 in sack of tomato.
Sack of tomato, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the Olympics. They're really feeling it at the Olympics, which is just, I was reading this whole essay on these athletes, and unless they win gold, maybe silver, and get sponsorship, a lot of them have second jobs. They aren't paid well. They train their whole lives, and to treat their bodies so poorly. And it's for some of them, it's no choice of theirs. Like they can't make everybody else, wear masks. And some of them can't, I don't know, when you're swimming, I don't know, but like lots of swimmers have come down with COVID. People have had to pull out, and that's it. Like there goes your chance for, like, you've worked your whole life, your body is your temple, and now you have COVID and you cannot compete at something you've been training for decades.
And some of them may never return to sports. I mean, that's the reality of COVID impacting, no matter how healthy you are. You just, there's no guarantee that you're healthy, so you survive it and get past it. That's just not how it works. So,
and you know, we read early on that one of the effects of COVID that it has on some part of your brain that analyzes risk is it diminishes that function. So you become less risk averse. So more willing to take risks and throw caution to the wind. And
and I mean, on top of this, you know, there's studies out there showing now that, and we know IQ tests are kind of a shitty test to rate your intelligence, but as a baseline, if you're performing 7 points lower than you used to after a COVID infection, that doesn't imply racism. That's a baseline of where everybody was. And people are losing 7 IQ points with a COVID infection.
Okay.
That ain't good after 10 COVID infections.
That is not good. I read like 2 to 3 points per COVID infection. 7 is a big bump up, but even 2 to 3, and then you're getting 2 to 3 COVID infections a year, you very quickly are going to not be able to find your words, which is my big fear. As soon as I can't find a word, that on our last show, it was surrogate. And then once I couldn't find that word, I spent the next like 30 minutes just being like, what other word am I not going to be able to capture in my brain?
Yeah, but I mean, look, 10 points. If it's only 10 points because you're getting, say it's 1 point every COVID infection, and somehow you don't get long COVID, but you're 10 points less intelligent. Is that what we want our society? And what about kids that are 10 now and they have this whole future of losing an IQ point a year?
Yeah.
Like, is this something we can do? So that everyone's going to be an 80 IQ when they're adults in the future. Is that what we're looking at?
I mean, some people say that that's part of the reason that Reagan started like defunding public colleges, you know, and not, just you don't want smart people who know history and who lead protests or something. But
well, I would not mind being dumb and happy, which is always the mantra. But I mean, I'm dumb and unhappy, so it's a mix. But
shut up, you're not dumb, and I am unhappy. I don't know, it's bad. And I'm seeing the Run say this is so frustrating. Novavax is ready with the current vaccine that would help us right now. And because our FDA is so captured by Big Pharma, Pfizer, and Moderna, that's the allegation from, a lot of people who are pushing for Novavax, which has much broader and provides broader immunity. That's why it's taking such a long time. I don't know what the truth is, but it's ridiculous that they tell us that we have one tool left and then they don't even give us the tool. Just crazy.
And they tell us we have one tool, but it's just branding. They're not even marketing to get the damn vaccine, really.
Yeah, exactly. They took away all our tools.
They just want you to ignore it. And the people that are concerned about it, well, you should get the vaccine if you're concerned about it.
Yeah.
While we go through the highest peak ever in most of these places around the country.
And it's not free. I think it ends being free sometime in August. Thanks, Biden.
A good time.
Yeah. School is back, as Garrett says. School's back next week. And it is raging right now. I mean, it's just insanity. Okay. Let's start off on a good note of thanking all of our wonderful pup heroes and sheroes. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, our group of wonderful supporters. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate all of you and are immensely thankful. So thank you. And also, just as a reminder, we had it up before, but please make sure to like and subscribe, smash that notification bell, especially because just a couple of notes from the front office. August is a little strange for me. Why we have our family vacation next week for 5 days. And then 2 weeks later, I'm going back east to see my mom. So Pat has couple of possible late night work. So we're just trying. So please do smash that notification bell so that if we end up going on a little later or have to change a day,
because there's a good chance this Wednesday we'll start late, but I can't call it one way or another. But we will have a show Wednesday, whether it starts at 5, 6, or something like that.
All the people on the East Coast, that 9 o'clock start time. I wonder how that works.
They'll be up. Come on.
They'll be up. It's the summer. All right. So we're about to get into lots of people spewing word salads and unable to complete thoughts, present company included.
And she's not even talking about me.
But 2 days ago, it was James Baldwin's, it would have been his 100th birthday. Brilliant writer, civil rights activist, and speaker. So we wanted to give a cheers to him, and we will play more clips during the show. But this is a pretty profound speech he gives here. I think he was on the Merv Griffin show, but I'm not sure. So that's me. Here's the brilliance.
Which is
really
which is here, but it emphasizes it or perhaps exaggerates it, and therefore makes us put people together in groups which they ought not to be in. I have more in common with a black scholar than I have with a white man who's against scholarship. And you have more in common with a white author than you have with someone who's against all literature. So why must we always concentrate on color or on religion or this? There are other ways of connecting men.
I'll tell you this. When I left this country in 1948, I left this country for one reason only, one reason. I didn't care where I went. I might have gone to Hong Kong, I might have gone to Timbuktu, I ended up in Paris, on the streets of Paris, with $40 in my pocket on the theory that nothing worse could happen to me there than had already happened to me here. You talk about making it as a writer by yourself. You have to be able then to turn off all the antenna with which you live, because once you turn your back on this society, you may die. You may die. And it's very hard to sit at a typewriter and concentrate on that if you're afraid of the world around you. The years I lived in Paris did one thing for me. They released me from that particular social terror, which was not the paranoia of my own mind, but a real social danger visible in the face of every cop, every boss, everybody. I don't know what most white people in this country feel, but I can only include what they feel from the state of their institutions. I don't know if white Christians hate Negroes or not, but I know that we have a Christian church which is white and a Christian church which is black. I know, as Malcolm X once put it, it's the most segregated hour in American life is high noon on Sunday. That says a great deal for me about a Christian nation. It means that I can't afford to trust most white Christians and certainly cannot trust the Christian church. I don't know whether the labor unions and their bosses really hate me. That doesn't matter, but I know I'm not in their unions. I don't know if the real estate lobby is anything against black people, but I know the real estate lobbies keep me in the ghetto. I don't know if the Board of Education hates black people, but I know the textbooks they give my children to read and the schools that we have to go to. Now, this is the evidence. You want me to make an act of faith, risking myself, my wife, my woman, my sister, my children, on some idealism which you assure me exists in America, which I have never seen.
So well said.
So well said. Brilliant man. And there's a great documentary, I Am Not Your Negro, which takes lots of his writings, and it's sort of like a biography of him that incorporates some of his works, and it's really beautiful. If anybody gets a chance to watch it, highly recommend. Cheers to James Baldwin.
And we have some other clips we're going to show during the show of him. So
yeah,
if you're suffering through the fourth clip of Kamala speaking, just have faith. We'll get to some real wise words at some point.
Holy moly. All right, where should we start?
Let's spin the wheel and have a beer. I need to reload my beer. So that's perfect.
That's always a good place to start before we get into it. He's gonna be mad. Pat has OCD. We both have different forms of OCD, and his is graphics. I'm glad you didn't see that, my friend. Your back was turned when it was all. Yeah, I did.
Excellent.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
Oh boy. Hey. Well, look at that. We'll do a quick one. All right. 1 second. second. I'm gonna close this.
I'll pick one here. Here's a short one. Short.
Okay.
What is it you wanted me to reconcile myself to? I was born here almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to live another 60 years. You always told me it takes time. It has taken my father's time, my mother's time, my uncle's time, my brother's and my sister's time, my nieces and my nephew's time. How much time do you want for your progress?
And that was probably what, 50 years ago? How much time do you want for your progress? And you see it happening right now where they're talking about anybody who brings up anything, even a genocide, is told to sit down and shut up.
And I mean, the Republican Party is literally pretending racism is over completely. And it's like, this could be him talking to Tucker Carlson, or, you know, like,
I mean, it could be him talking to the whole Democratic Party, you know. Mark Lamont Hill wrote something, and a few other people have too, like Shapiro is the one VP possible pick who has united almost the whole spectrum of voters in not liking him on one level or another, and we'll get to it more. But all Mark Lamont Hill did was say that on Democracy Now! Or Mehdi Hassan or whoever, and everybody just, you know, loses their mind. This isn't the time. We need unity. Your rights don't matter right now.
Look, we're not making our picks right now on who's going to be the VP, I guess, but he's so disliked that it's probably fucking him. The Democrats are they're so bad at this, and I'm still going to go with Buttigieg, but
you think it's Buttigieg. All right. You think it's Buttigieg. I think it's Shapiro. And
Shapiro
she's
is
announcing on
bet.
Tuesday.
I mean,
oh, really? Wait a second. I said that was going to be the Republican VP, and you said no.
Yeah. Well, I want some money for my long shot bet. I want some payoff beyond 1-to-1 odds. Like Shapiro's 1-to-1 odds pretty much right now.
Yeah, and he's awful. You know, and I know we're going to get into all of it, but the one good thing about picking Shapiro is that it would truly disabuse everybody of the notion that they care at all about any faction of the left in the Democratic Party. Like it is such a fuck you that he's even being considered. But we'll see.
Yeah, and in some ways it puts a lot more pressure. It makes it harder once they pick Shapiro to discuss Palestine, because they're going to push the narrative of not now, not the time harder, because it's going to impact the VP pick.
And anti-Semitics are already running with that.
Yeah. Whereas if he did pick somebody who we still fucking hate, like Buttigieg, for example, you know, the door is open, especially some of these other candidates, Tim Walz or something. Beshear, the door is open to change policy more, where it's less open when you have Shapiro.
Right. Which it's not going to change anyway. So I really think on some level, it's like ripping the Band-Aid off faster.
Yeah. No, I agree.
The more who still think you can push him left after, or push her left after she gets into office.
Yeah. And picking soon is good because people won't get so entrenched, you know?
Yeah.
If they pick him now, the people that were just leaning Kamala, thinking, well, she might be a little movable on Palestine. This opens those people up, and the young people, before they get all out there campaigning for her, like she's going to be some hero, you know. So
it's really,
in a way, I hope it's Shapiro as well, but not for the good reason.
I mean, not that any of the others have been especially good. There have been more nods towards, at least we want to honor, you know, our Constitution and people's First Amendment rights to speech and protest, which Shapiro didn't do at all. But nobody's been like anti-genocide, which I don't know. I like watching the people who said that they could not vote for Biden and this was a train wreck fall in line with right now, a woman who so 2016, they rigged the primary against Bernie. 2020, everybody drops out to push a guy who had lost the first, 4 or 5
races,
primaries, 4, I think. And this time they canceled the primaries entirely and just coordinated somebody who nobody voted for. And this is how we're saving democracy. And also, please don't voice any of your criticisms or desire for policy changes, because then you just want Trump to win. I mean, this is a crazy democracy we got going on here.
Yeah. And this is the wet, how many of us said at some point they're going to force Kamala in without us having voted for her? We called that 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We all were saying it. But we were all saying also Buttigieg, he was a piece of this, and who knows what debt is owed to him in this situation.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because everybody that she has in her inner circle, everybody, they are all either Obama or Clinton people, pretty much. And they all love themselves the Buttigieg, Mayor Pete.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know, but I did want to say, one of the problems with rooting for a Tim Walz or a Beshear is, look, their policies don't get embraced by the president.
Right. Yeah,
they are just providing progressive cover to get more progressives to think, well, at least they picked a progressive VP. Right. Maybe that'll influence her policy or something. Right. And it's not like that. It's just, it's window dressing. Honestly, if Bernie was Kamala's VP, I wouldn't vote for her.
Yeah, same.
Even old Bernie.
Yeah,
I wouldn't vote for her.
I totally agree. It is all just to provide cover. Listen, they keep saying, and Republicans love to say this, that she is, she had the most progressive record of any senator, which is such bullshit, obviously.
It's bullshit, and they're pulling that from 2017, I think. Yeah. So it's not like, that's when she first made it to the Senate and she was running on being a progressive. That's old news. She's
already walked away from
anything she's done. She
has not only walked away from Medicare for all, banning fracking, but there was a third one that we talked about the other day, and now I can't remember. Do you remember what it was?
No. God, no.
But on her, what'd you say?
I said, God, no.
God, no.
Wednesday show?
Yeah, Wednesday. That was forever ago. The border bill, she's all in on that fascist border bill. That's, even more right wing than Republicans had proposed. But when you go to her campaign page website,
there's a policy.
No policies. It's just about
right
donating.
There.
That's it.
The policy is you can give 25 up to other. That's the policy.
Well, she needs her $68,000 necklace. Look at this. Oh, whoops. Are we both doing it at the same time? Yeah. Or 62. Sorry. Pardon me. 62,000. And as Cabral says, I'm sure a lot of you follow this account also. So great. But we spent months having to defend Bernie's gifted $700 coat from his son that he wore
his son who worked
at
the Burlington, Vermont, coat factory.
Yeah.
So he got a coat. I mean, Bernie had 3 coats, maybe. He wore old ass shoes that your dad wouldn't be caught dead in.
Yeah, exactly.
And he got shit for that. And here she is with the $62,000 necklace. And look, I don't even know if that's real. Maybe it's not, but she's running on vibes, so it's relevant.
Exactly. Yeah.
Show me a policy. Show me a policy.
Well, except the border.
Tough on the border.
She's gonna be really tough on the border. Let's just remind you, this is very short, but this is the border czar.
Do not come.
Mine is.
Do not come.
Was that it?
That was
pushing, but I must be having weird lag time.
No, that literally is just 2 seconds clip.
Do not come. But here's the funny thing is, because she failed so spectacularly as in that position, which is, I don't know who actually could have solved it as VP. There's so many underlying issues or root causes, our interference in every global South nation, the coups, the sanctions, all of these things that destroy entire nations. But just do not come was like the exact Trump policy.
Right. And just to be clear, so that what that clip is about, it was not just like don't come to the borders. It was asylum seekers specifically she's referring to, which is legal asylum has always been protected in this country. And
seeking asylum
until Biden.
Legal. Yeah, exactly.
He just recently changed the law. Well, not the laws, but the policy to prevent all the applications that are legal.
Countries. Like you have to stay in 2 countries before a certain amount of time. It's like
but the legal asylum process is ultimately stopped, and we're not fulfilling our duty to protect legal asylum seekers anymore because of Democrats.
Disgusting. Yeah. And if it were Trump doing that, I mean, people were driving to the airport in the middle of the night to lawyers to help, immigration lawyers to help people who, that was the Muslim ban. But like there was mass outrage movement.
And then they didn't even when he took office, he didn't overrule so much of the policy. Yeah. Like it was just bullshit. Like Kamala's, it was just a debate.
It's just a debate. It's just a debate. What is funny, and again, I'm sorry because some of these clips we show are only, they're put together by right-wing media because the liberal corporate media isn't going to show this. But she was the border czar, and now because it still is such a failure, and Republicans want to zing her on it, they're insisting that she was never the border czar. What are you talking about? So this is a clip of the before she was handed the presidential candidacy and after.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. She was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
But just lying right to our faces constantly. I mean, it is amazing, first of all, to know that this has been going on for millennia, right? Like the people in power, history is written by the victors, all of that, right? But that they do it now when it is so easy to find the receipts, it kind of is just jaw-dropping, actually, the audacity.
Well, it's the same as her in 2016 or 2020 trying to say that she was not the top cop and she was a liberal, because in 2020 Bernie was in the race, so it was all about who could be the most progressive. So she ran away from all that record, and now she's the top cop. I mean, that they called us racist for calling her the top cop when she referred to herself as a top cop. Right. And now the border czar is the extension of that same hypocrisy.
And the funny thing is like, I don't know why it bothers them so much. I guess just because it still is such a failure, she's going to get zinged on it. But like everything that she is trying to embrace is going further right than Republicans could have even dreamed of, right? So she is right now, again, embracing being the top cop, being tough on crime. I mean, it is really like the thing about, people can change their minds when they are presented with more evidence. What she's doing is she's just a total empty vessel. She just blows in the wind. I mean, that is like flip-flopping. There is a difference between growing with new information and just being completely devoid of any substance or integrity or ideology. And that's what she is. Her only ideology is career.
And anybody that followed 2020 closely, they know that. Now, they may be letting that go and pretending, they may have some confirmation bias and some sort of like just desire to see Trump lose that makes them easily latch on to things that, oh, she's changed or she's evolved or she might be better or she's a better politician than she was then and all that stuff. But none of it's true. I mean, the reality is she's an empty vessel for corporate donors to shape and do whatever they want with her. That's why they slopped. That's why they picked her for VP. That's why she was going to come in 5th in California. And somehow she's our fucking presidential nominee without a primary debate. Even like this is a wet dream for donors.
Yeah. And without a platform nobody can really push back. Everybody just has to guess. They keep kind of floating different things to calm their donor base. Right. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in her. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, she can come in and say, I had a mandate for my Republican propositions because that's what I ran on. So the left is so much more dead with Kamala winning than you could possibly imagine if the right wins.
100%. And today on Twitter, Republicans for Kamala was trending. It's the same Lincoln Project people. It's the same Never Trumpers. So, you make Trump the worst thing ever. Then you make Biden also pretty awful. And so the fact that it's not that she can string words together on her own, but she can read off a prompter. She can give good vibe. She can do a campaign ad. She can walk in her high heels and strut around. And that is going to pacify enough people because she will just say enough of the sort of socially woke things to wash over all of her heavily captured corporate policies. Yeah.
And they'll weaponize, of course, we all know this, and this is why, again, I think they may go with Buttigieg. They'll just weaponize the stuff that makes you say, I can't be on the right because of the social stuff. So that even if that's the only distinction that ever exists, that's enough to get a lot of people to go left because they're like, I don't like this Christian right shit. Yeah. I think gay people are fine. I think trans people are fine. I think everyone should be equal. I think kids deserve some food in school. Well, that's policy that the Democrats are against as well. So let me take that off the table. But that's all they got. It's branding and it's vibes and it's,
which is also, I mean, I guess Trump is just playing to his own base, but it is crazy that he kind of handed that because when he is such a disgusting racist or misogynist, it helps galvanize a group of people who would normally not actually endorse Kamala, but who step in to feel like, well, we have to protect her from these spurious, ad hominems that are just disgusting race baiting stuff. And he muddies the water.
Yeah, no, he's look, I said this before, and as much as he leans into the racism stuff and it's made him sort of this, cult figure to some of the right, he would have done better without all the racism from the start. If he never had the racism, he would have been so much better off as this guy from the outside. Yeah. It's just that he couldn't hide the racism and he uses it, of course, but it's not a benefit to his campaign. It really is not.
Yeah. I think for his supporters, it's just baked in. I think, and I agree with you, where it really isn't a benefit is it will get some people off the couch who would have just said, I can't do it. I'm not voting for somebody who's exactly like Biden, but in a, female suit and high heels. And now there's a little feeling of having to defend her, and maybe she is going to be a little more open to being pushed. I mean, all of these things and obviously there's the vote blue, no matter who people, they were going to vote no matter what. They were going to hold their nose, whatever, and vote for Biden still. But it is interesting to see people who would call themselves progressive now somehow feeling okay with her. Like, we're going to get her in and we're going to push her left. And I do think that Trump's attacks only work to help that group of people.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also human nature to need, your brain needs a rest. You need to believe there's a good guy somewhere. And, you know that progressives aren't going to save us. As much as I support all the actions that's happening in the street, and all the union and the workers movements, that's a slow process. We're not going to flip this government on its head. So like, it's easier to just go, you know what? I just got to root for Kamala this election or something, for some people.
We'll just stave off fascism for 4 more years.
So,
and that's what we do every 4 years.
Of that.
Yeah.
And then, what happens is Trump comes out and he says some shit that makes you think about it. Like, not that I'm going to vote for her, but like, I understand people are like, did you see him at the racist black journalist convention? And he was there, and they're doing the birther thing with Kamala, like playing that card where is she black or is she Jamaican or Indian? Like, the thing is, like, that argument only appeals to people who are racist at all. And if you're not racist, you don't care one way or another. You're like, like, so if you're racist against a black person, you're racist against an Indian, most likely. So like that doesn't tweak your decision. And if you're not racist, you're not racist against the Indian or the black person. So you don't care about that anyway. So
I think if he were a better speaker and had a more agile mind, I think he would have packaged what he was trying to say, which is, I think what he was basically trying to say.
She's pandering.
Yeah, she's just pandering. She'll go again, whichever way the wind blows, all of that. She'll embrace whichever group she thinks is going to help her at the time. But he just doesn't have the skill to put it that way. And I don't know, maybe even his supporters wouldn't have the skill to hear it that way. So it just becomes a racist dog whistle. Okay, let's just go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say the right is making the argument somewhat that some of that racism was calculated to gain attention in the news again, to get the directive back to his narrative, good or bad, at least it's the press again on the Trump instead of like, hey, look at how much better Kamala is than Biden is not the story. Like they have to get that off that story. But he's just a dunce.
He's awful. But I do think that his campaign is having a hard time figuring out how to attack her, how to oppose her properly. It was really easy. Like, he's had 4 different monikers for her, right? Like, he spells it lying. That's LYIN apostrophe. Like, if you have to explain your funny quip, it's probably not great. Cackling, same thing. Like, it just doesn't work in the same way as Sleepy Joe.
I agree, but they'll land on something. Like, that part of it is just, there's 3 months to go. She's bad. It's a matter of hypocrisy, showing where she was, where she is. She's tough on crime. She's not. But like labeling Biden a communist and saying she's farther left than the communist. Or Kamala. You're not appealing to the centrists with that kind of shit. So the independents that message doesn't work with independents.
It really doesn't, especially because what's she done that's at all left? Not a thing. Not one thing. I mean, they can keep pointing to that record, which was ridiculous. They can keep just saying like she was called the most, she had the most progressive voting record in the Senate at the time. But they really cannot point to a single policy. And by the way, neither can she. This is how she responded when she was asked, what will your administration do about inflation, which is really destroying the middle class? So
this is great. Write this. This is a speech will be in the textbooks for the next generation.
Inspires some confidence.
What else are you going to do to fix this problem?
Lagging.
Thank you. Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up, and families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously, very seriously. And we know from the history of this issue in the United States that when you see these prices go up, it has a direct impact on the quality of life for all people in our country. So it's a big issue, and we take it seriously. And it is a priority, therefore.
So the question was, how are you going to deal with inflation?
Yeah.
And she explains inflation like she's talking to 5-year-olds.
Well, look, if bread goes up, it takes more money out of your pocket to buy the bread, which then it's not just an economic impact, it's psychological in all of us. And that's why we take this issue very seriously, because history has shown us we should take this serious. Like, that's every speech she's going to give to eternity.
Yeah.
Nothing. Vapid, empty.
It
bullshit.
Actually reminds me a lot of AOC. AOC speaks more quickly, and it's like if you're not paying attention to the words, it sounds a little better, more like sort of genuine, organic, you know,
yeah.
But it's the same word salad, and it's really embarrassing. And, you know, again, like I always have to say, I know we're all beyond Bernie and yada, yada, but like there were policies, there were issues, he could articulate them. He had been saying the same thing for 40 years, whatever, you know, like,
yeah.
Nobody know. How do you dissect that? What do you talk about? Like, what are you doing? So, but what people will hear who want to vote for her and want to feel better about themselves for voting for her is that she's empathetic. We hear you. We see you. We will not put any pressure on Wall Street, the business class. We will not use the enormous pulpit that we have. That's it.
Yeah.
We hear you. We see you.
Well, so I did want to point out what that Mr. Jesco said. Pete is better than bullshitting. And this is why I still think there's a good chance it's Pete, because Pete bullshits, but his answer is actually correct about, you know, most of
he's a liar. But
it isn't when he's talking about what they've done to counter something, but he can put some points behind it. And it is very Obama. Like, he is very cogent about like what I need to say, that people need to feel like here's a good answer to this question.
Yeah.
And you walk away and you're like, I kind of believe him.
Right.
But his history shows he's bullshit. But so to me, he is such a strong voice to be out there, better than all these other people to protect her. And
you might be totally right. You really might be totally right. It's interesting that they chose Philadelphia for this big rally, but maybe that was part of it. And somebody said and I'm sorry, I don't know who said it because it was way back at the beginning, but that they maybe are just pushing Shapiro. It's like everything has to be the Pied Piper strategy or like the lesser evil, right? Like Trump is so awful, so we're going to vote for Biden. Biden's so awful, so we're going to coronate Kamala. Kamala's awful, but you know, Shapiro's awful. Yeah. So hey, look at that, we're gonna have Pete. You know, like it might really just be that, like what's the Monte Carlo or whatever that's called, the 3-card Monte.
And it gives her, you know, because here's what happens. Say she picks Pete, right? The press is gonna run with, oh, he was way down on the list. Like nobody really was thinking Pete.
She's thinking.
But did you hear Pete yesterday? Did you hear what Pete just said? That was so eloquent of Pete. This guy, he gets it.
He gets it. And the way he
handles, so she's going to get points from it. And then they just send him out there saying whatever her policy is, which she doesn't even know yet. And he's perfect because he doesn't care what the policy is. He's just he's a trained AI McKinsey bot.
Oh my God, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you know, when people talk about like term limits, well, for judges and Supreme Court, I 100%. But for politicians, I don't think there should be term limits or age limits. I do think there should be a set number of mandatory debates. I think there should be actual voting. I think money out of politics, all of that stuff. I think if you've ever worked at McKinsey, that should absolutely remove you from ever holding office, because that
and
is just vile.
There should be, I mean, we have sort of processes in place, but like votes of no confidence. There should be like within your own party, a certain number of people. I don't know. That gets tricky because then they just get Bernie's out. They're like, oh, votes of no confidence for Bernie. Who cares who voted for him? But there's got to be a way to like put some parameters on people losing their fucking mind and not being competent. Like,
it just really feels like the whole Trump campaign, like, I mean, it is just so clear that it's a big kayfabe, that it's all just the Washington Generals and the Globetrotters. Like, the worse Trump is, the better they look. The corporate donors are happy because everybody just keeps goose stepping to the right. And, you know, Democrats can feel really some sense of moral rectitude because they voted for the better party, and they will blame every single voter for Trump on every horrible thing that Trump ever does or says, but somehow they're absolved of owning their vote for somebody who's just as racist or anti-worker, or, you know, so.
Yeah. And we'll get into the sins of some of these VPs in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, so let's just go to her inner circle, because as we know,
should we go there or should we spin? I think
we should definitely spin. What the hell am
45 minutes? Come on, let's spin.
Let's do it. All right, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
I really hope this doesn't have some fantastic music. I will refresh my drink though, and everyone should feel encouraged to do.
I'm trying to edit out all the audio so we don't get nixed and all that good stuff, and not using. It's so hard to not steal stuff.
I know.
Apparently, the copyright laws are bastards.
Yeah, half the time we don't even know. All right, cheers. Here we go. Puppets.
I just love otters. Sorry. They're going to always fill the timeline.
That's pretty cool. They're really funny. That is so crazy how they can squeeze their whole body through such a small space. Are you really hot? Right? I know. I mean, it's so hot, even with the air conditioning.
Yeah.
Lori, yes, there is a whole group of people, and we'll be profiling one of them, who do but that was particularly egregious because he was actually saying the same words, the same gestures. He had just followed the
stolen.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so personnel as policy. Kamala has. We forgot. Wait, sorry. This is part of it, though. Is on the heels of the Karens for Kamala and the white dudes for Kamala.
White guys for Kamala.
We've now got. We've got Reid Hoffman, who, as you might remember, a couple days ago we showed he gave $7 million to Kamala and then heavily floated and pushed that he wanted Lena Khan, the head of the NLRB, gone. Or no, FTC, gone.
And it was so bad that Jake Tapper on CNN was actually calling him out. Like, is that just a bribe to fire somebody who's regulating your industry?
Reid Hoffman got Jake Tapper to do a journalism. It was incredible. Yeah, exactly. Now there's going to be basically a billionaire business leaders for Harris.
White billionaire men for Harris.
Like that's something. That's what's been going on for the last 5 years. They've all been on their Zoom calls together. Like, what is this going to do for anybody? Unbelievable.
And how was
Just a reminder who's
like
boss.
it was kind of amazing because like that interview with Tapper, this guy, Reid Hoffman, says, well, you know, being a billionaire donor gives me access to come on shows like yours, which is kind of a zinger at him and the whole system that like, yeah, I get my political influence matters more. And here he is like, look, 20 years ago, you wouldn't be a proud donor bribing to get somebody fired. And
Publicly.
This is where we are. This is where the Democratic Party is, that it's acceptable. And even getting called out on that on TV the other day, they're just like, yeah, we want this billionaire donor money. We're okay with it. Nobody's following this shit, and nobody is following this shit enough to matter. So
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's also the thing, you know, because they always do this where they say whenever working class rises up, they'll talk about political violence or class war. But the class war and the political violence are a constant from the people in power towards the rest of us, right? So like it is only when we speak up or fight back, but like the unity message to the billionaires, I never heard it. I never heard anybody chastising the billionaires who said that maybe they'd be fine with Trump winning because he was better for their businesses. They never said, no, we need unity now. They know we have to be nice to these people. We're just going to keep harnessing the left and sublimating them. But the class war and the political violence are always ongoing from that class of people, always. That is just so disgusting. It is so flagrant. It is so out in the open, and they just don't care. And yes, going to the
but part of that is because there was no primary, and they got away with it. They got her in there without a primary. So like, if there was a primary, this guy couldn't come on TV and say, you know, we want to do all this. She'd have to step away from him and say, oh, I disown what he said because I don't believe in, you know, firing Lena Khan. Like, I'm a leftist. I support Lena Khan regulating industry.
Even though I'm top.
Yeah. So she would have to
leftist.
pretend to not support what this guy's coming on TV and saying. Now she's like, hey, you should do a big Zoom and raise me some money.
In public for everybody to know. Yeah.
Everybody can see it.
Like, I honestly, like, the one good thing, the only good thing that, like, in my weak moments, I mean, I would never vote for Biden. I would never vote for Kamala unless she came out right now and said, we are, by the way, the UK is not sending, they said that they are now stopping sending arms to Israel. I mean, 300 days too late. But not sending arms to Israel until they take deeper looks at what's going on. Ridiculous, way too little, too late. But like, if she said something like along those lines, I mean, first of all, they'd never let her be the candidate. But if she did, like, that's the only thing. But like the one,
Well, if she proved somehow voting for her literally would tangibly make a difference, it wasn't rhetoric.
Right.
On Palestinian lives, even if nothing changed, that would be enough to win the election.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be a coin flip. I mean,
oh my God,
Trump
100%. Yeah.
Probably winning, but it's still, they're both bad at politics.
Yeah.
Who knows, you know? But
yeah, they could quick send out the extra $600 they still owe all of us.
Yeah, but she could guarantee a win by getting on board with the public on Palestine and making that she could make that the issue, the one issue, and she would win.
Yeah. But so that and the like labor negotiate, like labor and the FTC are the only things that the left has been really vocal about and that they actually really liked about Biden, even though, I mean, he's a strike breaker. He just crushed another strike recently. But some of the people he hired actually were pro-labor. And there has been some movement on that. And so to have this guy, this disgusting slob who's pathologically greedy, like it is, I think, a mental condition that he will never have enough money, like all billionaires, to say that they need to get rid of somebody who is fighting monopolies.
No, it's basically saying you need to come out and be against the labor movement. And that's where the Democratic Party needs to stand to get our money.
Yep. I mean, it's just insane. I'm God, so many people saying, right, Lila.
Oh, I'll block him. Where is it? No, you are right. God damn it.
No,
it happens.
Saying the same thing. Every once in a while I say a thing. Okay, so let's talk about who she's had already advising her. Her brother-in-law, Tony West.
Good guy.
Husband. Great
really good guy.
He crushed
really good guy.
A prop in California. Proposition 88 or something. I don't know. They spent tens of millions of dollars crushing this this proposition that would have allowed Uber drivers and gig workers to have minimum wages, protection for overtime, the ability to unionize, all these sorts of things. He is the general counsel for Uber and helped crush that proposition with lots of dishonest campaigning, actually. Yeah.
And that's the point, is that here are the Democrats, and here she is with her inner circle, and they are the most neoliberal people you can imagine. And, you know, the future of gig economy is where we're at. Like, that stuff being decided now.
Yeah.
That's capitalism. Like, this is the next phase of capitalism, is all this gig stuff. And the Democrats are on the wrong side of it. Not that the Republicans aren't either, but there's nobody on our side. The lawyers fighting for the wrong side are literally the Democrats.
And they're all from the Obama or Clinton
exactly
administrations. It's amazing. So that is, oh boy, here come the readers. West was general counsel of PepsiCo before joining Uber in 2017. He served in the Justice Department in the Clinton and Obama administrations and was the department's third-ranking official from 2012 to 2014. Some in the labor movement have expressed concerns about Mr. West's ties to Ms. Harris in light of his role at Uber, which in 2020 helped enact a California ballot measure that exempted its drivers from a state law that would have probably classified them as employees. As a result of the measure, which was recently upheld by the blue state progressive California Supreme Court, Uber drivers and other gig workers in the state do not benefit from certain legal protections like state rules governing the minimum wage and overtime. The measure provided some benefits, separate wage floor, and so that's it. Like, that is one of her key counselors is Tony West. Do you want to say anything else about him?
There's the key donor, the guy who wants
to get rid of Lena Khan.
Lena Khan, like, because of her, the right to work, or the what's the clause when you go work for someone else?
The non-compete clause.
Non-compete clauses are dead. This is the one thing the Biden administration should take some credit for, but they can't, because they don't really want to own this, because if they own it too much, you're going to piss off the guy like that we just saw who's donating all this money. But Lena Khan's behind it. So, like, non-compete clauses, people think of them as like some sort of celebrity issue or something, but they're not. They're like, if I work in a law firm locally, when I go to work for that law firm, they're like, okay, if you don't work for us, you can't work for any law firm in the Northern California, which ties my hands to have to move to some other whole state. Or, you know, some businesses like, you work for Uber, you can't go work for Lyft.
Exactly.
You know, like, but those are all dead, like, globally. Yeah. I mean, US, nationwide, those are dead because of Lena Khan.
He says, he's like just such a disgusting man. In that clip with Jake Tapper, and I don't know if it was in the 2 minutes we pulled, but it's a longer segment that he did, like 8 minutes, that he's fine with that. The one thing he said, as an expert, and he keeps calling himself an expert. He's an expert at hoarding resources and exploiting workers. That's his expertise. And as an expert, he was fine with the non-compete because with banning non-competes, because that stifles creativity. But it was the ability to monopolize, to join forces with other huge companies. That was what was really upsetting to him. Can't maximize profit at that
It's
level.
all bullshit, because they have to pick their issues. I mean, even if he was against, if he did support one thing she did that hurts other businesses, whatever. I mean, we get it. They're just after how do they make the most money without regulation? And the Democrats are like, hey, Democrats, you want our money? We can't handle you regulating our businesses at all. Like, let us be free.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, the Democrats have moved so far to the right because the vote blue, no matter who, is always just going to vote for the lesser evil. And they will write things like, I would vote for 99% Hitler over Hitler, thinking that that makes a difference to people being genocided in Palestine. Like, I mean,
that argument, they're so trained to believe that argument that's how a lot of people went. So they're like, the Palestine supporters who were anti-Biden are like, well, Kamala's 99% Hitler on Biden on Palestine, where, you know, Biden was 100% Hitler on Palestine. So she is 1% better than Biden. So now I can vote for her. And now I'm going to put a campaign bumper on my car.
Coexist. Okay. Stepping down from, Anita Dunn, who was part of Biden's inner circle. Oops, sorry. I don't know why I'm having such a lag time here. It's because my AC is on so high, and so it's
so hot here,
deflating all of my other electronics. Anita Dunn, President Biden's senior advisor, leaving the White House, but she will be consulting a super PAC supporting Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign. And what is it like going forward? Is that the name? I think that's the name of it. I don't know. But she is a disgrace of a human being. Just as a reminder, she provided pro bono legal consultation to Harvey Weinstein following sexual assault accusations against him, and then was hired as senior advisor to Joe Biden's 2020 presidential campaign. And further reminder, she was the head of the Legal Defense Fund SKD Consulting.
Times,
something that was part of Times. Oh, sorry, SKD Knickerbocker. Yeah, sorry. I guess I could have just. Yeah, sorry. And they refused to take on the cases, not just of Tara Reid, who said that she had been raped by Biden, you know, in the 90s, even had contemporaneous corroboration. They couldn't take that on, but also the other 7 women who had sexual harassment claims against Biden. So that's Anita Dunn.
They were a big part of killing Me Too, really.
Yeah.
You know, these are your Democrats. These are your Democrats. And let me tell you, if you're doing pro bono work for Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein, pro bono, like free. So that means your powerful friends that want to give you business will give you more business if you defend Weinstein, because they're tied up in all the Weinstein shit. That's it. End of story.
And not to be too like, you know, it all comes back, but it sort of does, because he hired former Mossad agents to plant negative stories about the women who were accusing him of rape. They would follow them, harass them, plant stories in the New York Post. Like, it was a disgusting endeavor, and she was part of all of that. And yes, they killed me. Democrats killed Me Too. They killed Black Lives Matter. They killed Medicare for All. They killed the Green New Deal. I mean,
well, in California, we're locking up the homeless people.
That's right. There's Gavin Newsom, progressive.
Gavin Newsom, progressive candidate, advertising it in 2028. He's going to be right of Republicans on homelessness.
Yeah.
You know,
listen, Republicans. I did my homelessness bill, lock them up, and Republicans won't meet me at the border to, you know, I'm tough on.
And Kamala wanted to be tougher on the border than Republicans.
I mean, what a game. What a game. And we are all losing. Okay. Another Obama guy, David Plouffe, hired, top Obama advisor, building out the campaign. He was with Uber, I think also. Yeah, Uber. Was he also okay? Sorry. helped Uber undermine labor unions, illegally lobby the city of Chicago, and expand operations to weapons sales to Saudi Arabia. Was he also one of the heads of GoFundMe? I think it was either him or Pfeiffer.
I don't know.
It was one of those two guys. It was one
him.
of the P's. But like to campaign against Medicare for all, and then be like a head executive at GoFundMe, which the major source of their revenue was from people having to go fund their medical treatments.
The ironic part that everybody probably gets is that he is the guy responsible for the Hope campaign for Obama. Like he was credited with being the hero that got Obama elected. That's David Plouffe, the brilliant guy, just like Nate Silver was the brilliant strategist.
Right.
Plouffe was the brilliant pundit, or insider who had all the moves, But
Josh is worried that we're mispronouncing. I thought you did that on purpose. The way Trump won't say it's Weinstein. Yeah, the way you
the blacks,
and how he says he says Kamala. He refuses to say her name right, Kamala, just to show disrespect. So you could have just said that was a choice. You're just trying to make. Weinstein...
I truly don't. Yeah, I don't care. No, it wasn't intentional. I don't care. Yeah. Or no, I don't know. I'm not in the circle. I'm not in the LA circles, but
that's not a circle anybody wants to be in with the Weinstein.
Is it a Venn diagram?
Yeah.
Because Kamala loves Venn diagrams.
She'll explain it to us in the next episode. Okay. This also interesting who she chooses to scout out who her VP is going to be is Eric Holder. Who is one big advertisement for the revolving door. As Attorney General, negotiated settlements with bank clients of the law firm that was holding a corner office for him. So I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. We will not prosecute you. And what this article was at the American Prospect, I think, right? Points out is that, okay, so yes, under Obama, he was well known for overruling career prosecutors who wanted to bring cases against corporations and banks, epitomized the revolving door, having come from the power law firm Covington and Burling, which even kept an office empty for him while he was Attorney General, knowing that he would return. And it is from this exact office that he is now doing the VP search. But what the article also points out is that Kamala Harris was Attorney General of California at the same time that prosecutors around the country wanted to prosecute these big banks that were the culprits of these home foreclosures that destroyed, it was one of the largest transfers of wealth. I mean, millions of people lost their homes. It was one of the reasons that Obama was, it was a very iffy 2012 election. And a lot of the reason that people didn't come out for Hillary in 2016 was because they were angry about the 8 years of, hope and change Obama and the lack of action he took to help Main Street while bailing out Wall Street. Kamala was California's Attorney General and Eric Holder was the nation's Attorney General. And they worked in tandem to make sure she did not prosecute Steve Mnuchin or other big banks who were responsible for all these foreclosures. It all comes around.
Absolutely. And even beyond that, he had a decision to make of all the defaulted housing loans from the predatory loans that got us into this mess from the beginning. That's a big part of the calculus here. So what do you do with these defaulted houses that were all lost to the predatory loans? He gave them back at pennies to the banks and to all the people that were responsible for this stuff. Instead of helping out the people that were victims of this, which he had ample opportunity to do, he could have done that without impacting, bailing out the banks. Yeah. He gave these all back to these loans back at a fraction of the dollar to the people who fucked everyone over and had this whole thing happen in the first place.
Exactly. Yes. It's so disgusting that banks are too big to fail, but millions of people are, worthless and can lose their homes. I mean, like, you know, it's a different form of violence, but that is an attack on people's standard of living. And as Kamala explained so eloquently on inflation, it affects every part of your life when you have to sell your home and uproot everybody and look for a job that is never there and is never enough to get you back into the housing market. So you have no generational wealth to pass on. Yeah. So he is the one who is looking for VPs. And I know Pat wants to spin the wheel before we get to the VP, right?
Hell yeah.
Unless there's something else you want to say about, I don't know, do we have any other thing about that?
Well,
no, not really.
Have we left any videos?
Not yet. I mean, we're not there yet. Then we go to our VP. So you want to
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we're going to spin.
Yeah, spin that thing.
All right.
I need beer number 3.
Don't let him look. He doesn't like it when you can see the sides. Okay, here we go.
CD.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that. This actually gives me a ton of sustenance because
James Baldwin.
He's just so brilliant and unforgiving of people's idiocy, and I really appreciate it so much. Okay, so let's go to his take on a cop. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, push it.
Why not?
We got a couple.
They said once somewhere, you know, that a cop is a cop.
Well, cops are white.
And you know, and he may be a very nice man, but I haven't got the time to figure that out. You know, all I know is he's got a uniform and a gun. You know, and I have to relate to him that way. You know, that's the only way to relate to him at all. Because one of us is going, you know, one of us may have to die.
One of us, you know, in New York, there's a big campaign going on to humanize the policemen, and they have billboards upstate, and they have a picture of a big cop bending over this little blonde girl, and the sign say, and some people call him Pig. And I wanted to buy a billboard. I told a friend of mine, I want to buy a billboard and show this big cop and this 14-year-old kid with 30 bullets in him, and saying some people call him Peacemaker. You know?
You ought to do.
As much as I love hearing him speak, it is pretty devastating to see that, 50 years later, 60 years later, where has those incremental changes, where are they?
And just that conversation, like, it makes me want to make that poster now. Like, it's just fits now more than ever. And that's the thing with Kamala or Trump, they're all building these cop cities because they know civil unrest is coming, because they know income inequality and our policies don't align with the public anymore. Like, we're so far from what the public wants that they need to build these cop cities to rein us in and keep us, you know, tolerable. Like
yeah. I mean, it is getting bad. And I mean, we have a little bit at the very end on what's happening in the UK, but once again, it's all the same forces, right? Like, who are trying to pit working class whites against working class people of color or immigrants. And they are incredibly successful getting everyone to fight over the crumbs. And nothing's changed. Yeah. I mean, truly nothing has changed. It's pretty awful. Okay.
Well, if we elect Shapiro, it's all going to change. He's a lefty hero.
Yeah. So right now he is the top candidate. Somebody in the comments said one of the betting sites, like, he's got the most, you know. So yeah. So we'll start with him. Tuesdays in Pennsylvania. School vouchers should be an absolute career ender for any Democrat. But hey, you know who made them super popular? Obama.
Cory Booker. Oh, well, Cory Booker too.
Oh, and Cory Booker. Yeah.
Cory Booker ran on them because he was taking money from what ended up being the Secretary of Education for Trump, Betsy DeVos, who funded his whole career. School voucher person funded Black Cory Booker to say that vouchers are great.
Oh my God. And I mean, remember that whole Waiting for Superman? That was all about charter schools. Charter schools defund public education. That's just the bottom line. And, you know, it is really hard because when your own child is in a failing public school system, you just want your kid to go to a good school. Like, I understand that. I would never blame an individual, a parent, for just fighting for his or her own kid, right? But politicians have been doing this now for decades, defunding public schools, making them worse.
It just accelerates the erosion of public schools in poor communities. That's
disgusting.
the only outcome that comes from it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's one thing. He also had a chief of staff who had sexual assault claims against him, and he kind of sat on it for a long time, protected him, and then they paid this woman off. So he does have some pushback now from some women's groups who are being told, what, do you want Trump? You think Trump would be better? Amazing. We talked about it last week that he tried to use his leverage and power as Attorney General to punish Ben and Jerry's.
Ben and Jerry.
Because they didn't want Ben and Jerry. Who, but like also, you know, a lot of people who are pushing back on Shapiro are saying it's anti-Semitic, which is gross and untrue. I mean, it might be from some people, but like Ben and Jerry are Jewish and they didn't want to sell their ice cream in occupied West Bank and East Palestine territories. And he
and just
tried to punish them for that. Yeah.
To clarify again, they weren't even saying we don't want to sell to Israel, but you should have a right to not sell to Israel. But they didn't even say that. They didn't even want to say we don't want to sell to the West Bank. They said we don't want to sell to the areas that are illegally occupied in the West Bank, specifically under international law. And Shapiro wanted to lock them up, basically make this illegal under BDS.
Yeah,
he wanted to criminalize protesting.
Yeah.
That's his whole thing. They want to criminalize any public dissent against what they want to do, specifically Israel, because they're funded by Israel, of course.
Right.
And Shapiro's Jewish. I mean, that factors in. Works for the IDF.
Works
That's
for the
another
IDF.
thing.
The Department of Hasbara, actually, which is like, you know, now they're saying that his stint in the IDF was community service and that he actually worked on it. Okay, fine. Like, I don't know how he's going to really be able to spin that, because I'm sure people are going to dig up him with a weapon doing something awful to some poor Palestinian or something, or maybe not. I don't know. But he also worked for the Department of Propaganda, which is crazy. He also likened the student protesters this year to the KKK. Like, being anti-genocide is the same as being racist KKK members.
Okay, but that aside, but imagine coming to work for our government and you worked for the Department of Propaganda from some other country. Like, how is that
and
okay?
Volunteered
like,
to be in the army for another country.
The only exemption for all of this is if it's Israel. Like, you can't do that for any other country. You can't have come from Russia and worked for the Department of Propaganda.
Yeah.
And become a senator.
Putin, and that I don't understand why it's allowed. And, you know, people say, oh, the dual loyalty thing is anti-Semitic, but it's the only country where you're allowed to do that.
It's the only one.
And also that you cannot publicly disparage their atrocities. Like, you can say whatever you want about the president of the United States, or about the policies of the United States, or France, or Great Britain, or any other place, but you cannot say it about Israel. Like, what is that? That's insanity. Okay. He also wants to cut off money from colleges that divest or boycott.
Like, that's a really extreme view. That's one of the few things.
Actually, Trump said that, and so did Rick
Yeah.
DeSantis.
And look, it could be Shapiro, he could be the VP, but I have a feeling there's so much bad shit about Shapiro that is going to rub people wrong on the left that Kamala, she's bad at politics. I understand this.
Right.
She's got bad instincts, but she's got an ego and she wants to win. So, how much does her personal decision factor into this, or is the Democratic Party deciding for her? I don't know that part either.
Yeah.
But I think if she has her way, she doesn't pick Shapiro because she wants to look like she's not that guy. She wants to look like she's not. She wants to separate her. She wants to win, and she knows politically how bad it looks, and she's trying to walk that line. And I think there's a lot of bad shit on Shapiro that's going to come out because they
they're already scrubbing from right. So he definitely was. I mean, even the Times of Israel is saying, and that's like their right-wing journal. Shapiro seeks to downplay his time as IDF volunteer after college op-ed resurfaces, in which he said, we've got it right here. He's 20. Palestinians will not coexist peacefully, Shapiro wrote. They do not have the capabilities to establish their own homeland and make it successful, even with the aid of Israel and the United States. They are too battle-minded to be able to establish a peaceful homeland of their own. If you substituted any other group in for Palestinians, that would be the end. You would not be able to justify that at all. But enough Americans have been brainwashed to think that anybody in the Middle East, apart from the one democracy in the Middle East, is they're just like ravaging savages.
Let's take us back to the 80s. Oh, those South Africans are too, they're too battle-minded. What are they going to do? They're too battle-minded in South Africa.
Mandela was considered a terrorist by the U.S. until like 2006 or something. I mean, it's like anybody we don't like is a terrorist.
But what happened then, public opinion turned overnight because there was a light shined on the whole situation. Netanyahu fought for, not Netanyahu. Mandela fought for years, jailed, it was a long process. But the public flip on this is unacceptable happened overnight. And that happened in Palestine too. And we're just fighting it, pretending it didn't happen. But it has already happened in the US. And that's going to sink Kamala. If she thinks she's going to win, it ain't going to be with Shapiro. It might be with somebody else, but it ain't going to be with Shapiro.
I totally agree. We're going to continue, but just because I always get frozen right at this point, we just want to thank you, Beauty and the Boomer. Cheers to you guys. I think Saturday nights they go live. I often have to watch you on the replay because, we try to have a date night or something. But love you guys and thank you. That's very generous. Thank you so much. Cheers. Okay, going back to VP Shapiro. The
murder cover-up?
Oh my God.
This is going to be a big story.
This is huge and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's not good. His buddy basically, this person was found dead, stabbed 10 to 20 times.
At the time, it was either his girlfriend or fiance. Yeah. 10 of the 20 stab wounds were to the back of her head. At first, the medical examiner said that it was murder, obviously. Then when Shapiro comes in as the AG of Pennsylvania, governor, and Krasner had taken up. Remember Larry Krasner, who's like the progressive attorney general, wanted to take the case back up, and then it becomes suppressed. And it turns out that the family of the guy who, not only does he find his fiance stabbed in the back of the head, he calls 2 people before he calls 911. That family, his family, has donated extensively to Shapiro, and Shapiro's office, so sorry, I'm wrong. It was when Shapiro was attorney general, shuts down the case and says it was a suicide.
Yeah, it doesn't meet the eye test, and
no 2 of the stab wounds were after she was dead. the medical examiner had already released that information. They could tell because it didn't bleed or however it is. They could. 2 of the stab wounds occurred after she was dead.
Yeah. So, obviously it wasn't a suicide. I'll put that out there for sure. But whether it's connected to a cover up with Shapiro or not, and yes, it was. I'll just put that out there as well.
Yeah.
But, who knows, right? Yeah. But regardless, it's the thing you don't want your vetted candidate. You don't want this unknown, barely investigated, clearly problematic thing out there. And that guy also is the one who's going to turn the most youth away from you as a vote.
Yep.
So, look, I haven't heard any skeletons on the other guys. Now there's policy things that we can all disagree with on the other people. But if you talk about somebody who has the most apparent skeletons right out the gate, it's fucking Shapiro. And I guarantee you the vetting people know more about this story than we ever will. And that's why I don't think it's going to be him.
But they would have known about this before, like they already knew about it. And also, interestingly enough, separately, it has come back up because her parents, Greenberg, sorry, I feel like I need to know her first name to Ellen Greenberg's parents have been fighting for this for like over a decade to get this to go to trial and to prosecute this case. And it has just, independent of anything with Shapiro, come back up, and they are actually reopening this case. So maybe you're right. It might just be too much happening.
So this case, and look, on top of that, somebody else brought this up on Twitter, which I hadn't really thought about, but 2 attorney generals, you're going to run Kamala the cop and this guy the cop.
Democrats are tough on crime.
Yeah, I get it. But look, even if you were a good AG and a good prosecutor, you are responsible for every case below you. So like you can make a case against, it's too easy then for the Republican Party to find one case of like a Mexican guy who got across the border illegally,
right,
and killed somebody.
Yeah.
It's just very problematic. And given everything out there, it's making me leaning harder on Buttigieg. I'm just putting it out there.
All right, we'll see. Well, there are more people to get to. Let's not, though.
I'm either highlighting the show as I'm the next Nate Silver, or we're deleting it from YouTube. One or the other.
We'll be like, oh no, we got dinged on that cat video, so we have to take it down.
I had too much to drink that night.
This is why so many Democrats love Shapiro. They call him the Jewish Obama. Listen to the way he talks. Crazy town.
Again, you could not have a clear contrast in this race. You could not have a clear contrast between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And let me tell you something. He's pretty afraid. Y'all see, he's backing out of the debate now. He's afraid to stand toe-to-toe with our vice president. And you know why that is? It's not just because she's a skilled debater. It's not just because she's got the right positions on the issues that matter most to the good people of Pennsylvania and this country. It's because he can't run away from his record any longer.
Yeah.
Think about it. 4 years as president. Guy stacks the NLRB with a bunch of corporate folks who have tried to rip away your rights every step of the way. We can't go back to that, and he can't defend that.
Okay.
It's really off-putting. Okay, we're done with him, except the only good thing about him, no, I'm kidding, is that Fetterman just came out against him. I guess they've kind of like clashed on their career paths, and there was a bill that was going to allow some convicted felons to have a second chance, board of pardons, and Fetterman was slightly more lenient than Shapiro. So he said he's expressed his concerns.
Yeah, it's weird to see him out there saying no to the most pro-Israel person.
Yeah.
Which, where is it? TYT. Like, look, there's some good people working at TYT. There's some people I respect working there, but Cenk ain't one of them. He runs the place.
I mean,
he's out here saying like, look, because Fetterman's bad, Shapiro is good is his moral argument here. Like, Shapiro's going to be good because you can't call him an anti-Semite. Well, yeah, you can't call him an anti-Semite because he's the fucking worst supporter of Israel that you could possibly fucking find. So like, but this argument is just so stupid. I mean,
I
put it out in front of people.
I'm kind of shocked that Cenk thinks that Shapiro is good. I just don't understand it. Right.
I don't really know how good he thinks he is. I mean, I'm just based on this argument that he put out there. He's making the case that Netanyahu,
right. So Shapiro said that now, but of course, he still wants to send all the bombs to him. Like, you might think, great, they're doing a thing with Netanyahu, like what they've done with Trump and the Republican Party. Like, Republicans aren't all Trump, or like most of the people in power aren't all pretty much Trump, right? So like, there's this whole, the liberal Zionists are a lot like, I think, our liberal Democrats, like, oh, this is an anomaly, but it's not. That this is the natural progression of the philosophy of this country. But you cannot say that this is the worst, most right-wing government and it's horrific and Netanyahu's awful and we're just going to keep on sending him bombs. Like, that's,
yes, you cannot.
There's strike. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Should we move on?
Yeah. Who do we have next? Pritzker?
Pritzker, pretty short, but Pritzker, by the way, is also Jewish. So the calls of anti-Semitism because people are pushing back against Shapiro, the same people are not pushing back against Pritzker, who still supports Israel, but also, so like, not my favorite, but also supported the students' right to protest. And, I see you, I hear you. But, they did come to, this is my computer. I don't know why it's so slow. Northwestern University reaches agreement with protesters and Pritzker addresses the protesters. And he did, he said, I understand that for a lot of people, this is an untenable situation, even if he doesn't entirely agree with the protesters, but he supports their right to protest. So, and their right to feel protected, right? So it makes him less hateful. I mean, particularly disgusting is Shapiro likening anti-genocide protesters, peaceful protesters, to the KKK.
Yeah, look, he would be a better pick. We know this. You can't disregard the young people and the pro-Palestine movement and win this time around. You just can't. And so he's better on this.
Yeah,
for sure.
And okay, so just so we see, like, he's got a little bit, he just feels more real. I mean, he's a billionaire, so like whatever, but he does not feel insincere or slick. So this is him on Republicans just recently.
Let me ask you though, because you heard the president today, the former president, say that Kamala Harris is a liberal, makes Joe Biden look less so, right? That she's the radical liberal. And that is an attack we're also hearing from the Republican side. Let me just play a few people.
She is even farther left than Joe Biden. I didn't think they could pick anybody any worse, but they did.
Joe Biden was the kid that grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the Irish Catholic kid. Kamala Harris is from San Francisco. She's a San Francisco liberal, a San Francisco radical.
When Harris was in the Senate governor in 2019, GovTrack, which tracks bills in Congress, nonpartisan group, ranked her as the most liberal compared to all senators. The most liberal compared to all senators. Is that a good thing?
Did you hear them talk about any issues in those quotes that you just played? None.
They, frankly, are just throwing invectives, throwing names. You know, the vice presidential candidate for the Republicans is insulting women who own cats, has a weird view of America, honestly. And they're just, they love to throw names. That's what Donald Trump did. Look at the quote that he put out there, you know, frankly, just saying, oh, she's too liberal, she's too liberal. How about let's talk about a woman's right to choose? Is that too liberal to stand up for a woman's reproductive freedom and her health care? No. And also book bans. Republicans across the United States have tried to take books out of libraries. They want to end people's ability to access whatever they want to read. And it's Democrats who are standing up for freedom. And I believe that Kamala Harris is somebody who's going to prosecute the case against Donald Trump, who is a convicted felon already, but there are a whole bunch of cases yet to come.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a chance at all. The only thing is that
look.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, is that he's a billionaire and like she probably like that's money, but I don't, you know, I think Kentucky and Pennsylvania are more important states for her. So, you know, but he's on the list.
But like, look, they've looked at the correlation between VP candidates bringing their own states, and it's not even, it's not like you're not bringing the state. They're still going to vote for Kamala, not the VP. Right. The things they liked about the Beshear or whoever you pick are not the things that they're going to be spewing on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
They're going to try to associate their brand with Kamala's brand, but Kamala's brand is going to be, you know, word salad. I mean, in cackling and word salad. It's just a matter of time. It's
cackling.
I mean, I don't. Why
C-A-C-K-L-I-N.
isn't cackling Kamala should be Trump's?
That's the other one. That's what I was just saying. It's lying. It's he spells it though. He's like cackling. C-A-C-K-L-I-N apostrophe. Just like lion.
It's too much work if you got to spell it out.
If you have to explain the joke, you're already.
I can workshop it, but
help him out. You go help him out.
But this guy. Look, I don't know him very well, but he comes across as like he could be before you hear him talk, he could be a MAGA guy. Right. So like that has a little more appeal, a little. You know, Italian Goomba kind of vibe or something,
white guy,
you know, like
white guy he's Jewish.
White guy. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Pritzker, white guys, there's a white guy. Let's see.
I got to be honest that when I'm invited to an event with a name like White Dudes for Harris, it doesn't usually sound like something I would join, but this is a terrific cause. And I'll keep my remarks short. I know that we have a lot of speakers. And afterward, of course, there's another Zoom that I invite you all to called Couches Against Trump, better known as CATS.
Yeah, so that right there, I'm like, I don't like you already because you're at that event and you're pushing the JD Vance fucks couches thing, which is like.
It's the same thing that he just complained that Republicans aren't talking policy. Like, talk about policy.
It's insulting. It's like, look. I get making fun of JD Vance if you're on my level or somebody on Twitter or something, but you're running for the president of the United States. You should differentiate yourself on policy. You shouldn't lean into this totally made up story about fucking couches. Funny as it is, you're not on that level. You let other people way below you make those fucking false allegations.
The problem is what policy is Kamala
they don't have
on?
policy.
We're going to go right back to that, right? So I mean, they all negate each other. It's all so ridiculous, but at least he doesn't feel like slick. Like, I mean, but that's a corny dumb.
He doesn't feel like slick, but that's where Buttigieg is better because Buttigieg never comes across at least as a guy punching down. He's trying to be above the fray in his whole existence on earth. He's like Fraser Crane of politics or something, you know.
I mean, he does. You know, I used to love Obama. I can't stand him now, but I used to love Obama. I have never had that feeling about Buttigieg, and it might only be because Obama ruined it for me. Like, you know, I have no idea. But very like right away, we all saw who Buttigieg was. But for people who don't who don't look beyond the words or the headlines, he absolutely has that same Obama ability. I don't think at quite the same level,
No.
but like of speaking about policy and people going on to Fox News and having like real conversations where he presents himself very well and makes people, proud. I mean, you are right. I mean, it'll be interesting. We'll see. Wednesday, we'll see.
I'm not saying he's good at it, but he can make an argument. He's a better lawyer than Kamala could ever be.
Oh my God. Well,
so
yeah.
And look, what you were just saying about how people who follow him don't, they saw through him right away or whatever, but 75% of this country is just tuning in now, and they're all about vibes, and that's just the reality of things. And
it'll make them feel good about voting for the first. It's like
here's the logical where he misses on the logical argument, but he's pretty good with saying the right things.
Right.
You can fall back on the black woman and the gay guy. Like these are things that that the left should run, and that this is, I will give them credit on the not going back. Like that is a brilliant campaign strategy, because there's no promise of what's ahead of you, but we're not going back. It's nothing, but at least we're not going back to, all the policies we lost under her as VP.
Right. It's funny. I know. Oh my God. I know. Right. It is funny though. Like I do think it's a fairly good phrase, not going back, but it still is in the negative. Like, and again, it's because they have no policy to run on, like, right. But
that's all they got.
But since seems to resonate a bit. Yeah.
Well, we know that most voters are voting against the other guy. Right. Like that's just the reality where we're at. So voting against the other guy, he takes you back.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. It's a better way of saying never Trump. Yeah. Okay. This very quickly, I cannot imagine that Mark Kelly will be the guy, but he is one of the people being floated. He wasn't there for Labor when Labor needed him. He was one of the few Democratic holdouts for the PRO Act. He joined Senator Warner, Manchin, and Kyrsten Sinema on preventing the PRO Act from passing the Senate, which I don't think.
Well, I feel like he makes this list because he paid his dues to the donors, and they're like, he taps some Republican boxes, and we wanted you to be this guy who's the Manchin kind of a little bit occasionally for us.
Yeah.
But what does he bring? He doesn't bring any.
I mean, Arizona.
There's no enthusiasm for him, though. Yeah. He's not I think it's a non-starter, but who knows? Like,
they put his name in there.
Really, all these are predictions, but it's Buttigieg. But it's still just a prediction. I don't know.
Okay. So the two that feel like they are the most appealing to the left are Beshear from Kentucky. Apologies to Zainab, who does not want him to be taken away from governor of Kentucky, who's done some good things, and Tim Walz of Minnesota. So, as opposed to Shapiro and his stance on school vouchers and charter schools, this is Beshear, who's completely the opposite. I mean, he's a pasty white guy with no riz. my little nephew taught me that word.
He looks like he could have some Beto riz, but then he starts talking and he doesn't. But look, if you're good for your state, God bless you. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is Beshear talking about school vouchers.
But in July on the campaign trail, he said this race is about vouchers. And you can just ask him directly.
Well, let's just ask him directly.
Vouchers.
Do you support vouchers, General Cameron?
Look, I support, what I've always said is I support catching up our kids. I'm trying to, my plan is
one of those option school vouchers or scholarship tax credits.
My plan is about making sure that we catch the kids up from the shutdown. We've seen Andy Beshear's education plan, and it's a plan that shut down our schools for nearly 2 years.
But you would be for school vouchers.
No, I would support primarily our public school system. Look, we need to make sure that we expand opportunity and choice.
That's three times you've asked the question.
We need to make sure at the same time, look, more than 90% of our kids are in public schools. Look, parents at home, they want to make sure that their kids are caught up. This governor shut your schools down for nearly 2 years.
We deserve a governor that will answer the question,
Governor
that
Beshear.
will look in a camera and answer the question. I oppose vouchers 100%. They steal money from our public schools and send them to our private schools. The reason he won't answer is he supports vouchers. He has time and time again. But what's concerning is he won't be honest with you and answer a direct question and look in the camera. You deserve a governor that'll do that, whether the answer is popular.
Why will you not answer the
unpopular.
question?
So especially after having Zainab on our show last week, talking about him, I don't care that he's not slick. I'm fine with that. I'm all policies. That's all that really matters. There's another clip we have that, it's his campaign ad for governor, just talking about everybody being God's children and we need to take care of everybody. And, I'm not a person who ever wants to hear a politician talk about religion as a motivating factor. I just would like to keep that totally separate. But I think it feels genuine, and his policies it back that up, right? So I think that he will never be chosen.
You just explained 5 reasons he's not going to be the pick.
Oh my God. We didn't even show the Pete Buttigieg clip on Fox after we were just talking about it, but whatever. I mean, we could show it, but yeah, I mean, we've all seen him a million times.
Nobody wants to see more Pete. That's why that's why I'm picking him. It's Pete.
That's why we're going to get saddled with him. Oh my God.
I'm leaning in harder than I was before.
Yeah,
the show,
I know. Now you're convincing me. I might have to change my. I think that the murder investigation, more than anything, is what will sink Shapiro. Actually, that is just so vile. But who knows? Kamala's done, equally bad things, and she's, the billionaire's choice for president. Okay, then we have who seems to be everybody on the left's favorite. Is Tim Walz, right?
Yeah.
So
what we got on Walz?
What we got? We got
Did you show his ad? I mean, that kind of
let's show his ad. Let's that's good. I'm gonna let you push the buttons because my stuff
pushing the buttons.
It's halftime in Minnesota. Time to regroup, refocus, and choose a plan that tackles today's toughest challenges. Some leaders retreat. They say our only choice is to cut back. They point fingers, offer shortcuts, they try to divide. But Minnesotans know better. The women and men who came before us carved out a life in the unforgiving North. They survived by investing in the future, teaching their children to build communities that last. Immigrant farmers, lumberjacks and miners, champions of freedom and refugees, and people who've been here all along, the Anishinaabe and the Dakota. Our blood saved the Union at Gettysburg. Our iron forged the tanks that liberated Europe. Our farmers sparked a green revolution that fed the world. Our imagination transformed medicine. What many describe as the Minnesota miracle, that's just what we do here. We've proven that when we come together as one Minnesota, we can do anything. I've seen it. I've led soldiers, I've taught students, I've coached state champions. We'll win by doubling down on the next Minnesota miracle, inspiring our kids to dream, setting lofty goals, and lifting each other up to accomplish them. Because if Washington won't lead, Minnesota will. In this state, we don't fear the future. We create the future. And when we stand together, we win. It's halftime, Minnesota. And what happens next is up to you.
That's a pretty great ad, I have to say. And as Doug pointed out, lots of people supporting him, and also policies. Like he actually, they had a slim majority. California has a super majority of Democrats, slim majority, and right away started passing some fantastic policies.
Can I just go back to Doug's point though?
Yeah.
I don't know that he's putting this out there as a positive, because half the people on this list I'm a little sus about these days, and one of them is Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, Nancy
Pelosi. When
Rebecca Jones,
we've all learned not to trust any fucking politician. So look, if you make the VP ticket, you are probably a piece of shit. So like, even if Tim Walz makes it, he's probably a huge piece of shit.
Okay, wait.
I'm just going to put that out there.
You know what? I don't know I've never heard any evidence of him being a piece of shit. I think Nancy Pelosi is a piece of shit, and I think she's a smart political operative. And I think this goes back to what we were saying initially, which is if he is chosen, it will be to give cover to Kamala Harris, and who's not at all a progressive. And what that will do is make a lot of people feel much more comfortable voting for her, when nothing that he accomplished in Minnesota will actually translate to any black. He has no power as the VP. So that, I think, is more than that. I mean, I don't know enough about him to malign him.
Look, I'm not going to malign him. I'm maligning the system. I'm just saying this. I'm maligning the system.
Yeah.
But I also think you're not guilty by being in the discussion, and you're not guilty even if you become the VP. But there's something about if you become the VP and you Bernie Sanders the fucking campaign, and you cover for a genocide, like, could you become the VP if they were worried about you speaking up and having your same opinion you brought into that position?
Right.
I don't think so. I think you have to be vetted as safe to become a corporate bitch.
A team player. Just a player in the game. You got to be a little rat. I don't know. I mean,
Lila had the best take. Are you sure Lila had the best take? Lila, this show is terrible.
I'm just paying everybody on the side. I'm just okay, but just to go to his actual policies.
What?
I know, but because he did, like, we showed the video of him sign. This was 2 years ago. Signing into legislation with an incredibly small majority, right? Not doing what Biden's done. Like, we just need 2 more. We just need 60 more. We just need 99 Democrats. Not doing what Gavin Newsom does here and promising if we only have, and now we have a super majority. And so now we're never going to let healthcare come to the table in California. They had a large budget surplus, quickly enacted a wide range of progressive policies across the board that changed our state for the better. So this is being written by somebody at MSNBC who's more of a leftist, who voted initially in the primary for the left candidate, but then, has now come around. Affirmed abortion as a fundamental right, a safe haven for the trans community, removed constriction. Sorry, I juxtaposed those. Made Minnesota a safe haven for the trans community, affirmed abortion as a fundamental right and removed restrictions that limited access, legalized recreational cannabis use, passed laws for driver's licenses for all Minnesotans regardless of immigration status, automatic voter registration, paid family and medical leave, tax rebates for people making less than $75,000, new climate goals, and they phased out parental fees for families with kids on Medicaid. So, he actually enacted policies with that majority. I agree with you. He's not going to come in and say, I'm against genocide and we have to get Medicare for all. He's not. And nobody, I'm not a Democrat anymore. So I don't give a shit. They're horrible. But I think he's the best of all of them.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I mean,
from
what I've
seen
seen
right there. No, I'm kidding.
Good night, people.
Lila's right. call this the Lila's Right edition.
I want to remind people, and this is not to knock Walz, but Gavin Newsom did all those things.
Yeah.
California did all those things. That list is the things that Democrats can get by because they're the bare fucking minimum.
Yeah.
Now let's see him. What's next? He's going to criminalize homelessness, and just like they're doing here, like this is the thing. Like that's the bare. Those are the social equality things that we care about on the left. But I didn't hear anything economically in there.
Yeah.
Which I don't know his record. He might be doing those things.
Right.
But these are the things that the left sells that don't affect people's lives because of the economy.
Right.
Now I know he's done some stuff with the school programs that didn't exist.
Universal lunches and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but in fairness, like that's so bare
he's not like
minimum.
raising taxes on the billionaires in Minnesota, which I don't even know how many there
And
are.
maybe he is. I don't know, but we need to have a higher standard than thinking this guy is our Bernie because
oh my god, 100%.
He did the basic things that fucking Gavin Newsom did.
Yeah. No, I will again, like this is not my circus anymore. I am completely like
I'm not either.
No, I know. I mean, like, and there's something really freeing about that. I totally agree with you. Listen, anybody who was not loudly, vociferously speaking out against Biden for the last 4 years, even when it like the Green New Deal, the whatever, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Build Back Better, all that kind of stuff, speaking out about genocide, speaking out about why are we giving more money to cops? And now we have more cop killings. What, and by the way, he in Minnesota, which is where George Floyd, right? That was in Minneapolis, right? Was killed. I do think that he called, I don't want to say anything wrong. I don't think he did great with the protesters. I think he was better with the college students recently protesting.
Right.
But yeah, none of these people,
I don't know.
Like they're not my people.
I don't want to lower his stock at all.
My biggest fear is that if he's chosen, it will give immense cover to Kamala, and that will, that would be the worst. Like, and then everybody's just going to relax again. What are you going to do? We need 2 more senators, really, because one of the ones who's up for VP is one of the ones who went against the PRO Act, and now we got Fetterman. Like, we're always going to have that rotating villain. Is always going to be there. We're never going to have. Do Democrats think they're going to get a 60 senator advantage? So, like, what are we talking about? Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if it's Buttigieg, is it 7? If it's Pete, they don't have to run on any policy. They get to hide on. The biggest threats to liberals on the left is gay rights, trans rights. I mean, I support all that. And those are actual real threats. So I understand it. So when you have me agreeing with those issues, I mean, I agree. Obviously, I agree with those issues. But I mean, when you have me considering overlooking what a fucking terrible candidate
I know
and how bad the Democrats are at it, it's a good strategy.
Right.
So to me, they're going to lean on going back with the black rights, going back with the gay rights, going back with the thing, and they already have the going back thing in there.
Yep.
Just telling you, Pete.
Now is not the time. Now is not.
It's either Pete or we're deleting the show. So it's Pete. Calling it now. Calling it.
I
don't know.
Should we show something funny? We should just do something before we go out, don't you think? Because we're pretty much done with the whole Veepstakes, right?
Okay, I don't want to get us banned, so I won't show the Kamala Veep spoof. Let's see an Olympic highlight, maybe.
Oh, that's not going to get us banned.
I changed music. There's no Olympic music, unfortunately.
Is it actually from the Olympics, though? Footage actually from the Olympics? Forget it.
Yeah.
Let's just do impressions of it. I will say, it will get us.
All right. Let's play it safe then. Okay, we're not doing that, but it is a clip of the guy with the huge dong. I don't know if you guys seen this video.
Poor guy. Oh my
God. This poor guy pole vaulter his whole life, loses with this huge dong hitting the pole and knocking it over.
That is footage from the Olympics. Oh, you're just describing it.
Yes, I'm just describing it because we're not going to. No, I'm just describing it. We are going to show the Kamala impersonator. Should we do that?
Let's do that. Perfect.
All right.
I was just going to say a quick cheers to Simone Biles, who's unbelievable,
record-breaking,
unreal, and we were talking about this earlier.
Well, she got so much shit for dropping out for mental health issues, but like her mental health issues, for one, they were mischaracterized entirely because a lot of gymnasts get the spins. It's like you do something crazy dangerous and get hurt by it.
Yeah.
At some point, you're like, it's hard to do that crazy. Like when I was a kid, I got beaten in the face playing baseball, knocked unconscious, went to the hospital. It was hard to bat again because like subconsciously, I'm like, I'm going to get hit with the ball.
Yeah.
And imagine a gymnast that almost breaks her neck a million times doing something. So she stepped out for a little bit to get over the spins, and she comes back and wins all these gold medals and these
right wing was ruthless
online.
with her, disgusting. But also, like, we were talking about this earlier, the Ginger Rogers quote about, I have to do everything Fred Astaire does, but backwards and in heels. And I think about these women gymnasts who are like unbelievably talented, as are the men. I mean, anybody obviously at the Olympics, but like it just keeps getting harder and more difficult and looks to me more dangerous. Having to do all that with fake eyelashes and lots of makeup, and oh, by the way, being molested by their doctor for
their
decade.
Coach. Yeah.
Right. Like the person who, and often with their mother in the room who didn't know, and they're little, they're like 8, 9, 10, like 11, 12, 13, whatever. And they still are pushing through, which nobody should ever be expected to do. But it does just kind of make me melt for them, because it's just so unbelievable what they've had to go through to get there. But okay, now we're going to go to silly.
So
humor.
that's not as, I get it. That there's more trauma there than the guy with the big dick who hit the pole. I get it. I get it.
Bummer. At least he gets to be like,
but he's a celebrity. Like, he's
like
a celebrity
my
now.
Big cock like prevented me from being a gold winner. There's like you still won gold on some level, buddy. Like,
it ended my baseball career as well. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right. Let's
show Kamala. Let's show a timeline cleanse, and we'll come back and say goodnight.
All right.
My fellow Americans, we did it, Joe. I am the perfect nominee for the 2024 presidential election. First off, I'm hilarious. Second off, I laugh. People be like, she laughed too much. Have you ever seen Donald Trump laugh? I don't think he can. I bet if he did laugh, it'd be something fucked up. Here's my impression of Donald Trump laughing. Ready? Cause he a monster. Thank you, Joe. We did it, Joe. Cool, Joe. He's your favorite vice president's favorite vice president. I will earn, my spot on the nomination. As it 4 years of doing all the fucking work didn't already do that
She does a really good job. Of course, we will be wanting, I'm sure, to post some of the Maya Rudolph stuff, but we would just be blacked out and our show would be pulled from SNL. So we will be looking for less well-known impersonators. Okay, so Wednesday our show might start a little late, but we'll, smash that notification bell. We are going out on crazy happenings in the UK where the far right is targeting immigrants and people of color and burning down their neighborhoods, pulling people out of vehicles, asking if, is that a white person driving? And when it's not, pulling them out, beating them up. And as in the US, the cops tend to just stand around. So cheers to the anti-fascists who show up and are protecting their community and beating the hell out of these people. And it's what they're chanting is the EDL, fuck the EDL, which is the English Defense League, which is the far right racist that were supposedly disbanded 10 years ago. And yet somehow they've all shown up to, destroy these communities in the UK. So keep on fighting, keep punching up. Cheers to Antifa. We love you guys.
This is why we need Antifa and people who have the means. Punch a Nazi, punch a racist. Do what you got to do. Don't provoke the fight, but finish the fight and defend your fellow people. So cheers to seeing that happen.
Cheers. Keep punching up. We'll see you guys Wednesday. Thanks.
This is what community looks like. This is what community looks like. This is what community